Stay tuned for the Bulldozer Health Show, brought to you by Bulldozer Health Incorporated. The opinions stated on this show are not necessarily those of this station. All listeners should check with a trusted health advisor before following specific medical advice.
Hello, my name is Wendy Love Edge, and I'd like to welcome you to the Bulldozer Health Show. In this episode, I'm on location in Stonington, Connecticut, and I'll be sharing ideas with Dr. Stefan Pesher, the country doc, a medical family physician. Welcome to the show, Steph.
Oh, thanks, Wendy.
So excited to be here at your clinic. So I thought today we could talk a little bit about connective tissue disease and autoimmune diseases.
Certainly.
So can you tell me what are connective tissue diseases?
So, Wendy, that is a whole host of different conditions where, technically speaking, your body is producing antibodies that end up attacking parts of your own body. So whether it be muscle tissue, thyroid tissue, pancreatic tissue, there's a whole host, and some of these are still kind of a vague entity called mixed connective tissue disease, and some of them don't even have a name.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Really? People like to have a name for their conditions. They get very stressed and worried if they're having a lot of symptoms and there's no real name for it. Do you find that happens a lot?
Absolutely, and many times patients have been misdiagnosed for years and years, and they come in and they're desperate for an answer, or at least a name, like you said. That's
right.
Very true. And so just by ordering the appropriate tests and listening to the patient, you can often find something like this that maybe was missed in the past.
Okay. What kind of testing do you do? Are you talking about doing a host of blood work,
lab
tests?
Usually we begin with routine blood work, CBC and DIF, CMP, kidney, liver function testing, thyroid. But one of the most important tests would be an ANA. That's an autoimmune panel. And that's kind of like a broad net. And if something shows up positive there, then there's a whole host of testing that's done as a reflex.
I see. And so is there a difference between connective tissue disease and autoimmune disease?
Connective tissue disease is a form of autoimmune disease.
Okay. And so the autoimmune disease is when the body is
attacking itself, so to speak, or producing antibodies that attack itself. So now as we learn more about diabetes type 1, for example, we know that the body has been producing autoantibodies that will attack the pancreas and then result in this insulin deficiency and type 1 diabetes. So we're learning that is a common thing. Thyroid illness as well, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. These are, again, autoantibodies that are produced often in response to like a viral condition, and then people end up with these problems. So it's very interesting. We still don't know everything about it.
Sure. And when looking at causes for these things, because it seems like as I'm out and about in the world and talking to patients and doctors, there seems to be an increase in these kinds of diseases. What is your thought about that?
Absolutely multifactorial. So when I was in medical school in Prague, many years ago, more than I care to admit, we were told that if we encounter one patient with lupus or similar autoimmune disease in our lifetime, we will be lucky because it was that rare. Nowadays, every third or fourth person has some component of autoimmune disease. And so it's so pervasive that I'm sure that there has to not only be a genetic component, but there's an environmental component, most likely the toxins in our food supply and water supply, but also the stress that the human body is placed under. People are not meant to live under the stress that we find ourselves in this century. So that's not helping, emotional state and stress. So those would be big components.
Sure. The food supply is pretty damaged, and many people don't have access to organic, healthy food. Do you think that's a large component of it?
It's enormous. And usually if patients go back and fix at least that part of it, they get a lot better. But once they also address the emotional component or the trauma that's at the root, oftentimes, then they really can have some miraculous recoveries that are unexpected, really, by the medical community. Because technically, the treatments are such harsh immune suppressing drugs that the drugs themselves can do more damage, than the actual illness.
Right. And I have personal experience with that. I spent many years treating autoimmune diseases like psoriatic arthritis and psoriasis with drugs like Remicade and Humira and Enbrel. And when I look at it now, it's frightening, really.
Yeah.
But that was what was offered to me. So it's really refreshing to hear a physician speak about it in this way. So with your patients, where do you start? You start with the diet, and then what other things are you offering?
So we, first of all, when it's a new patient intake, we spend about 2 hours with the patient.
Wow.
And we really go in depth. And most people, when they come, they're actually ready and they want to tell us. So it's just a matter of patience and good questioning. Once you get to the root of the problem, then we order the blood work. We give them the instructions about the diet and avoiding, chemicals and dyes and all this jazz. And usually at their follow-up in 2 to 3 weeks, they're already feeling a lot better.
Wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah. We're very blessed. We have a great team.
And the patient, you're looking at the whole patient.
Yes.
And creating a relationship where they can freely talk to you about what they're consuming, what they're doing in their life.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Exactly. That's what it is, Wendy. And many times it's kind of funny, but I'll walk into the room and they'll start crying.
Oh.
And that's when I know they're ready. And then we get to it and I say, well, what is it? Why are you crying? Here we go. And that was a very fast, instantaneous. I don't know why it happens that way, but many times.
It sounds like you have quite a connection with your patients, and then they feel safe and comfortable to talk to you.
Yeah.
And that's so important. You were talking about the emotional component of autoimmune disease and connective tissue disease.
Yes.
Let's explore that a little bit more, because that's very important. And it speaks to the patient bursting into tears as they are developing their relationship with you and making some changes. So what is the emotional component? Do you feel it's rooted in, it's probably all different things, but several patients who have experienced abuse that they aren't aware of? Or
yeah, Wendy, it's sadly enough, we're seeing that abuse of all forms, sexual abuse, any kind of trauma, that's usually at the bottom of it. And sometimes the patients haven't even admitted it to themselves, or they've blocked it off completely. And so during the course of the conversation, we may learn about that, and then we offer them some strategic treatments such as tapping, EFT, or other forms of psychotherapy or healing. Like we also have a wonderful nonprofit that's therapeutic equine riding, and we send our patients there as well.
So you have a really well-rounded program. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to speak with you, because it's very exciting to me. There's a wellness center here, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned EFT or tapping. So for our viewers and listeners, what is that exactly?
Well, it was relatively new to me as well, but it's an emotional freedom technique. And I have a really good friend, Julie Banks, who worked with the children and families after the Newtown shooting. And she really was able to impact these people in a positive way using this technique. So I've sent her various patients, whether they be veterans with PTSD, people with childhood trauma and abuse, and she's been able to make a big difference to them.
Great. And so she's using this technique with them. And then when they come back to you, this is a big question.
Yep.
Do you see changes in the blood work that you're doing or in the testing that you're doing?
Yeah, we absolutely do. Sometimes patients become ANA negative.
Wow.
And I'm not sure why that happens. And some people live on that fence of sometimes positive, sometimes negative.
Sure, right.
But overall, we see a pretty big improvement. And most importantly, clinically, the patient feels better, looks better, and is living life again.
Nice. What other treatments are offered in the wellness center.
Okay.
And, I know you have this relationship with the wellness center here.
Yep.
And EFT is one option, and the equine treatment is one option. What else is here at the center?
So we have a wonderful chiropractor, Dr. Anne-Marie Gore, and she's an amazing healer. She also does a lot of weight loss therapy with lipo laser. Works really closely with her patients. People walk in bent and they leave standing straight up.
Nice.
So that's been terrific. So we have her. We have a wonderful acupuncturist, a medical masseuse. We also, we do some urgent care down there, Botox fillers, but we're looking to work with a psychotherapist who might be joining our team, and also a colon hydrotherapist.
Nice.
We're looking at getting a hyperbaric oxygen chamber and an infrared sauna, most likely in the next few months also.
Wonderful. Infrared sauna, is that good for skin conditions?
All of the above and for general health.
Nice. Okay. Well, so as a physician, when you were in medical school and with your training, were you trained in all these different types of health methods?
Well, certainly Europe has a more open-minded approach, and the differential diagnosis is broader, and there is a big emphasis on holistic, traditional herbal medicine. So that was always a part of things, and everybody there pretty much uses and augments their lifestyle this way. So here it was relatively new, but in Europe it's not. It's been that way for many, many years.
Okay, so it was part of your training.
Pretty much.
And then you came here to the States, and what did you see,
Yeah, I just saw this tremendous need for alternative therapies in conjunction with traditional medical management. So what we like to do, I rule out any kind of underlying organic problem. And that way, when I send the patient on to the chiropractor or the acupuncturist or masseuse, they feel comfortable that there's not something lurking.
Right.
So it's like a comprehensive package. So I believe both needs to kind of go hand in hand.
Sure. You're using science and looking at the patient as a whole.
Yes.
And then adding these other therapies as needed. That's wonderful.
No, thank you. Well, we've had great results, and we have a wonderful patient population who really seem to appreciate our strategy.
Sure. And so I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about cannabis.
Sure.
Because I know that you have stepped up and are writing cannabis recommendations for patients.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about adding cannabis to this treatment regimen? Do you think it's a necessary part of someone's health? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, if you'd talked to me a few years ago, I would have given you a very different answer. But because patients have basically harassed me into submission, and I have learned that they really have improved their health in so many ways, coming off of pharmaceuticals, improving diabetes, asthma, colitis, whether it be from Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. I mean, a whole host of things, MS, even certain cancers. It's undeniable that it really should be a part of health. And so, yes, we are supporters. We're working hard to educate the community. We hold a monthly seminar for free. Anybody could come, and we kind of teach them about this, because education is everything. It's empowerment.
Absolutely. It is empowering. And the patient, like we said, the doctor-patient relationship is important, but the patient's relationship with themselves and being able to do their own research and exploration is key, isn't it?
Yes. Self-healing is of paramount importance.
And so do you have patients who come to you already knowing what they want?
Yeah, sometimes we do, and we work with them. People know their own bodies. If you listen to your patients, 99% of the time, they will give you their diagnosis.
Really?
Yeah. And when it gets really difficult, I sometimes say, well, what do you think you have? And you know what? They're usually not wrong.
Really? I do think, the body knows how to heal itself. I say that so many times, almost every day to someone. True. And if you really listen and tune in, you can come up with some answers. But having an expert like you with education behind it really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it validates things as well. And also, that hopefully nothing will get overlooked. We're very meticulous here, all of us. So we try our best to really look at every angle,
Wonderful. Yeah. So our current system primarily pays for pills, tests, and surgery, right? And you're kind of looking at things completely differently than that. So, what is your hope for the future with the American healthcare system? There's a lot of talk in Washington right now about making some changes. What are your hopes for the future?
Well, yeah, I hope that we can sort of have more of a holistic approach to healing because, I know it may not fill somebody's pockets necessarily, but it's better for the population. So, for example, in Europe, when somebody catches Lyme disease, it is known that patients can have problems for years, sequelae of Lyme. And so what do they do for these people? Well, it's a mandatory 6-week retreat to a healing spa.
My goodness, really?
Yeah, and these people go, it's usually in the summer, and they go have these healing water, sulfur healing baths and stuff like this. And it really helps them, not just with their symptoms, but with their stress level and modulates everything. They feel better and they function better. They have less sick days at work. So it pays off in the end. It's just an upfront sort of thing,
Right, you make that investment in health. And then you reap the benefits later. Yeah. And that's covered by...
Yeah, that's part of the national plans.
Really?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that happening here? How can we work on that?
Well, I think we just have to have the public is really who it's going to serve. And if people just sort of increase their voice and speak up about it and tell people that's what we want. We are sick of pills. We're sick of all this. We want to have our health back. We're sick of chemicals in the water and the food.
Right, absolutely. Because, I'm sure you speak with your patients about lifestyle choices, right? We talked about the alternative health and the physician portion, but lifestyle is hugely important. Yeah. However, if what we're offered for the water and the food isn't supporting that, we're kind of stuck, aren't we?
Yeah, so it's time we all wake up and say no, and then change will happen. And especially, it's also about demand. So if people stop buying junk and, they only buy the good stuff, well, the junk will go away.
Right. It's hard for people. I think that's one of the biggest complaints that we get from people who reach out to Bulldozer Health. They say they can't afford the healthy food. And recently I had some visitors from England who were telling me that the food is so much cheaper where they're from, they can't believe the prices here. So what's happened is the market, like you're saying, the market is created where you walk into the store and the health food section is small, but the whole store should be a health food section, right?
Food is our medicine, for God's sakes.
It really is, right? And so, like you were saying at the start of the interview, that's one of the first things you look at with patients, and you see improvement when they change what they're putting into their body.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, we're seeing some very interesting things too in blood work, which are kind of unexplainable. So we're seeing a lot of profound iron deficiencies, magnesium deficiencies, B12, folate deficiencies for no apparent reason. The people are having a healthy diet. So we're kind of experimenting a little bit to see if we can fix that by going 100% organic, and then supplementing naturally and rechecking. But there's no reason for that. That's not a normal finding.
Right. You think, are the people that you're having those findings not eating organic?
No. Well, some of them, yes, they're not eating organically at the time. And then we're kind of... So I wonder if there's just something present that's not agreeing with our digestive systems. Something's changed.
Something, whether it's pesticides or GMO crops.
Something has changed the way we digest and absorb.
Right. And it's great that you're documenting that. It's my hope that other physicians who are working in the same way you are also documenting that, because that gives us more ammunition, so to speak, towards change, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think really people are waking up and they want this. They want healthy things and they're learning more. And social media has been wonderful in educating people. The access to information is just tremendous.
Right, it is. And thankfully, people are waking up, as you said. I think that it's hard when when you have someone who perhaps isn't so connected on the internet, whether they're not able to get that information and they're just trying to survive. There are lots of people like that right now, and those people are hard to reach. And also, they feel isolated and like they don't have access. So I'm not sure what the answer is to that, because the cost of food and the cost of proper health care, like what you deliver, is difficult for some people.
Yeah, admittedly. Well, fortunately, Wendy, we have someone like yourself who's working hard to champion these people.
Yes, thank you. We're working at it. And, I think that the more we have shows like this, the more we talk about it, the more it goes out into the universe, and as people talk, it just spreads like a ripple in a pond, and that's my hope. I'm sure that
and it will, Wendy. It will.
It will. So, do you have any final thoughts or important advice you could give someone who's looking to start working on their health?
Yes. So as we said, building blocks. So really start with organic food. Look it up, the what was it, the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15.
Oh, right.
The vegetables and fruits that you should buy organic, and then there's some that don't have to be organic because they're not sprayed. So start with that, clean water supply, and go from there.
Start with those building blocks.
Yeah, the building blocks. And then work on yourself, work on your emotional trauma. Let's heal some of that trauma, address it.
Right.
And whether it be through massage, chiropractic, acupuncture care, whatever floats your boat, but start taking care of yourself.
Yes. It all starts with your own self, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for the fine work that you're doing and for joining me today.
Thank you, Wendy. Great job to you as well.
I've wished you well, but it's been too long now. We've traveled so far away. We've traveled so far away.
In this episode, I'll be interviewing Dr. Janji Anand. I'll be speaking with Dr. Tammy Post. We're on location at Just Breathe in Worcester, Massachusetts. In New York. From Salem, Massachusetts. The Bulldozer Health Show. Bulldozer Health Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and healthcare reform initiative. You can find us at bulldozerhealth.org. Take back your health, America.
Unexpectedly, she returns to me like a wave of pure euphoria that slowly washes over me. I used to know the way she'd smile. Now I feel the space she left behind in just the passage of time. Be the one I can call at 3 a.m. when I have wandered down a street and lost my way. I drank so much I can hardly stand up, yet I am leaning on one foot so I can move on. Everywhere I go, I've learned to wear a smile so
Bulldozer Health Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization and healthcare reform initiative. The mission is to educate people about all available healthcare options, improve access to alternative healthcare, and to inspire people to achieve optimal health and wellness. Among our many programs are the Take Back Your Health America benefit concerts. These concert events travel from state to state, raising awareness and raising funds with free on-site sessions offered by healthcare providers, silent auctions featuring original art, products, and services, door gifts and prizes from generous sponsors, and a great lineup of musical performances. A portion of funds go to help individuals pay for alternative healthcare, including cannabis and cannabis legalization fees where funds are available. There are many opportunities for you to be involved. Please visit bulldozerhealth.org for much more information. Thank you for your time and energy, and take back your health, America.